Today we will start our pollination part 2. What is mean by pollination? As we know that it is the transfer of non-motile pollen grain from anther to the stigma of the flower. This pollination based on some external carriers, and these external carrier are nothing but the agents of pollination. These agents of pollination are further classified into two categories. See, the agents of pollination are classified into the abiotic means non-living agents and the biotic means the living agents. These non-living agents are classified into the wind, anemophily and water hydrophily. Hydrophily again classified into hypohydrophily and epihydrophily. Here the living agents means biotic agents are again classified into insect, entomophily, birds, ornithophily and the bats means chiropterophily. Now, what is meant by adaptation and what is the purpose of adaptation? Adaptation means the changes required for the plant and the flower. And the purpose of adaptation means the plants have to survive and reproduce with the help of pollination in the drastic climatic changes. And the flower also require adaptation, which is known as the floral adaptation. So we will see now the adaptation in each and every flower. See, the adaptation in Anemones means wind-loving flower. In wind-loving flower, there is no need of the fragrance and the nectar. So the flowers are small and without nectar and inconspicuous means not attracting. Pollen grains are light in weight and dry and produce in a large number to increase the chances of pollination. Now, stigma is feathery and hair-like to trap the pollen grains for the pollination. Stamens are exerted with the long filament and versatile anther. See the example of maize here. Here the male flower head which has a stamen, long stamen and anther in which the pollen grains which are light in weight are present. Now here the female flower have the stigma which is very feathery and hairy like to trap the pollen grains. This is the female flower head. Now we will see the hydrophilous flower means water loving flower. See here the flowers are small and inconspicuous means not attractive. Parts are unwettable due to the presence of sticky substance that is mucilage. So the water will be float out from that. Pollen grains are long, not minute and again unwettable. Nectar and the fragrance are lacking in the flower and the specific gravity of pollen grains is equal to that of the water. Means here the pollen grains from this male flower, staminate flower will float on the surface of the water for pollination with the pistillate flower or the female flower. This female flower will temporarily stand on the water surface for the pollination and the male and female flower contact here and the plant will be the pollinate and reproduce again. Now we will see the type of hydrophilous flower again. Hypohydrophily. Here the pollination occurs below the surface of water and the pollen grains are heavier than water, so they will sink down and caught by the stigmas of female flower. Pollen grains are long and ribbon-like and without exine layer, so they not produce the sporopollenin substance. For example, in Zostera zeagrass. Epihydrophily, the pollen grains float on the water surface and reach the stigma of female flower. These pollen grains float on the water surface and the specific gravity of pollen grains is equal to that of water, so they can float on the water. That is why they can float on the surface of water. For example, Vallisneria, just we have seen the diagram before, and the lotus is the water-loving flower, but it is come under the entomophilous flower. So we will see the next slide, that is adaptation in entomophilous flower. Entomophilous means the insect-loving flower. See here, the flower are large and brightly colored. Flower have the nectar gland and the stigma is rough due to the presence of air. Pollen grains are spiny. Some special mechanism for the insect visitor are present in this flower that is known as the lever mechanism. For example, salvia, jasmine root. See, this is the diagram of salvia flower. Here the honeybee enter into the flower. This is the flower which before the entry of bee and this is the after entry of the bee. See what happened here. After entry of the bee, the fertile anther lobe. This is known as the fertile anther lobe which bend down and stick to the body of the honeybee and leave the pollen grain here. This is fertile anther lobe and this is sterile anther lobe which is at down and this is the connective. Now after sticking to the body of the honeybee, when honeybee fly, and it will land on the another receptive stigma of the female flower, this the stigma will catch that pollen grain for the pollination. So, and this total process is known as the lever mechanism. This is the flower after entry of the bee. So it is present in the salvia for the pollination. Now we will see the next slide, that is the adaptation in ornithophilus flower. Ornithophilus flower is nothing but the pollination with the help of the birds. So flowers are usually brightly colored and large and showy, colorful flower, and they secrete a profuse, means plentiful dilute nectar. Pollen grains are sticky and spiny. Flowers are generally without fragrance, and as the birds have poor sense of the smell, so they can land for the pollination. For example, bombax, silk cotton, and bignonia. Now, the next for the adaptation in Chiropterophilus flower, means the pollination which is with the help of the bat. Now, flowers are dull colored with the strong fragrance. They secrete abundant nectar here. Flowers are produce a large amount of the edible pollen grains. Means in the Chiropterus flowers, there is a plant are nocturnal and open their flowers during night, and so the bats can hold onto the flower for the pollination. So example is Anthocephalus and the Adansonia. Now,